The Lakers situation is pretty fascinating. I got the greatest basketball coach of all time who was interested in the job, and they didn't wait to hire him. They hired Mike D'Antoni, and everybody was talking about the whole timeline here. And it's the Lakers. You get Steve Nash, you get Dwight Howard. You know, you're not even the best team in the West. Yeah, there's a little bit of drama there. A man who knows drama, he captures it with his words. He's Al Michaels, NBC Sports. What do you make of this Lakers situation, Al?
First of all, Brother Patrick, you don't make too many mistakes, but I am not a Los Angeles native.
Ooh.
I have lived here for a long time.
Doesn't that make you Los Angeles native?
No, I'm a Brooklyn native. I grew up in the shadow of the Barclays Center.
Can you believe, though, that area with what it's become?
Have I? Well, I haven't been back there in a long time.
It's amazing.
But, grew up in the shadow of, well, not quite the shadow, because I was like 10 blocks away, but I could walk to Dodger games when I was in PS 139 on Cortelyou Road. So that is my DNA.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
On to Los Angeles. It's a fascinating story. You know, what's funny, I did the NBA for a couple of years back in 03, 04, 05. Remember the Lakers had Kobe and Shaq, and then they added Karl Malone that year.
Gary Payton?
Yeah, and Gary Payton. And everybody said, oh, my God, this team's going to win 75 games. They didn't. They got into the playoffs, did not have home court advantage in any series except the finals where they met Detroit and imploded. And, of course, that led to Shaq eventually getting traded, Phil retiring for a year. The team was a mess the following year. This is pretty fascinating, though. I don't have any inside information. I think, you talked to Kobe yesterday, and we heard I know what Mitch Kupchak has said and all of that, but I believe when Mitch says that D'Antoni's the best guy for the job right now, I think that may be true. He knows Nash inside out. Kobe's comfortable with him. I think Mike has been a good coach through the years, and obviously people are saying, well, he never took his team to the finals, and he can't coach defense and all that. I don't buy into that. I think they made a good choice, and clearly if Phil had come back too, I mean, to me they couldn't have lost either way, and I think D'Antoni's going to do a heck of a job here.
I get the feeling, though, that you made the courtesy call to Phil Jackson just to placate the fan base, and then all of a sudden they were surprised that Phil was interested in the job, and they were probably already had their sights set on Mike D'Antoni. That's the feeling I get.
I don't know, and again, I don't know the inside here, Dan. I don't think they'd fool her. I think, look, if you're going to call Phil and talk to him about the job, and he says, I want it, then what do you do? Go, well, we're just, we're just probing? No, I think they had to be serious about bringing Phil back.
He's Al Michaels, NBC Sports. Got the Ravens Steelers Sunday night. Roethlisberger is out, according to Jay Glazer. Not that, I mean, you call the game. As far as prepping for the game, that's more Chris Collinsworth with what Leftwich does or how this team changes their game plan. Now, at what point does Chris do that and then clue you in on what to be looking for in the game?
Well, we talk during the week, and obviously we get there and go over the things that we want to cover. So it's pretty. I mean, there's no mystery here. Do they have a better chance to win with Roethlisberger? Of course they do. Can they win with Leftwich? Absolutely. Dan, we love the NFL because nobody knows what's going to happen. You can't predict anything right now, and that's why it's the best reality television show ever. I mean, to me, I look at the coach, Mike Tomlin, who we love dealing with. I mean, he's honest and he's very quotable, and I just like the way Tomlin goes about his business. And I've never heard Tomlin ever use an excuse. And believe me, we've covered that team where a lot of guys have been out. They're missing a lot of parts. Never once have I heard Mike use any of that as an excuse or a reminder of, hey, here's where we are because of this guy missing and that guy missing. He's a forward-thinking guy, and he lives in the present and looks to the future. And there's nothing about the past. He deals with what he has to deal with. And I think he's, one of the, shall we say, elite coaches in the league. I mean, elite's become such a ridiculously overused term. But I think Tomlin is great. He's one of the best coaches in the league, and he's going to figure out a way to put put that team in a great position to win the game on Sunday night.
I think I love Tomlin. Everything about him, his demeanor, the press conference, and you're right, he's not an excuse guy, and but that's why the Steelers organization is so good. If you look at the number of coaches they've had since 1969,
right.
That's why they've been successful.
And not only that, but to go out and find Mike Tomlin, I mean, he was not one of the high-profile assistants.
Well, he talked himself into the job. He went in and said during the interview, he stole it from Russ Grimm, I think, was going to get the job, wasn't he?
Well, they had Russ Grimm, and they had Ken Wisenhunt as well. Remember, he was on the staff, and he'd gone to Arizona.
Yeah.
But if they were looking for a successor to Bill Cowher, I mean, they had some guys on the staff. Dick LeBeau was there. An older guy at that point, but still clearly a man who could have taken the job. But I thought it was fascinating when they went out and found Mike Tomlin, because at a certain point you go, well, wait a minute, how do you know this? And he must have not only impressed them obviously in the interview, but to get the job when he did it, like 35 years old, but. It's like Mike Smith in Atlanta. I mean, Mike Smith was not a high-profile assistant coach when he was at Jacksonville, but Thomas Dimitroff knew about him, and they interviewed him. And look, there's a gamble involved here too, and it's clearly worked out for Atlanta and Pittsburgh. But man, you're rolling the dice, aren't you?
NFL in Los Angeles, I keep saying that I wouldn't want leftovers if I'm a local. I don't want the Chargers. Okay, there's the California 2-hour difference in driving to see them play. But Carolina or Jacksonville or any of these other teams here, at least if I get an expansion team, it's our team. I know LA made up a lot of people from a lot of different areas. I just feel like with the NFL. Do you want to take on somebody else's problem, and that's your team, and you put your arms around them?
Well, remember, this is it's a situation where a team can be one thing in 1 year, and then 2 years later they can be an elite team. They could be a good team. So I think, look, the play in L.A., and again, here we go again, and I don't know where. It's just I don't know. Well, I'll believe it when they put a shovel in the ground, and I think it's going to happen sooner than later, I think. What the league wants to do is move an existing team here and then have an expansion team come in a couple of years. L.A. can support two teams. We've talked about this in the past.
Yep.
We have 16, 17 million people who live within a 90-minute drive. So there's no question they can sell out. They want to play the Super Bowl here every 3 years if they can. It's Hollywood. It's Los Angeles. It's good weather and all of the rest. I think that's the play, Dan. I think they want to get an existing team to come here. Look, who's in play? San Diego, no stadium deal. Oakland, a terrible stadium. St. Louis, who knows in 2 years? Their lease is coming up. Carolina came into the picture. I hadn't heard that until last week myself. Jacksonville, it's they don't sell out. Maybe they're the team. Who knows? Now, Minnesota, I see where the governor said something the other day about, hey, well, I'm going to revisit this thing. So any team without a stadium deal is going to be in play for Los Angeles. So that will probably happen. I don't know which of those teams comes. They build the stadium, and then they put an expansion team in as well, because that's more revenue for the guys that are that run the franchises in the National Football League right now.
Yeah, because
so, look, they haven't expanded in quite some time, but you expand, and that's a big pile of money that goes into a pot that gets distributed to the current team.
But then, do you have to add another expansion team?
You might, but remember they went through a couple of years where you had an odd number of teams. So obviously 34 is better than 32. I mean, 32 works out perfectly for them. 8 divisions with 4 teams each. So, but they figure out a way to do this. And, the NHL and the NBA through the years, even baseball, have had an odd number of teams. In baseball, you've had more teams in one league than the other for a number of years, 16 to 14. So somehow when money's at stake, Dan, and in play, they work it out.
It's good to visit.
America.
Yes, it is. He's the Brooklyn native.
Right.
Al Michaels. Have fun this weekend, as always. Good to visit with you again, buddy.
Thank you, Dan.
All right.
Take care, buddy.
Al Michaels, NBC Sports.